Oprah Winfrey interview in her Netflix series, Harry and Meghan. Now, Meghan is fiercely fighting to have this case tossed, hoping that the judge will dismiss it without a trial.
What was expected to be a routine court hearing slowly turned into a moment that drew intense public attention and sparked widespread discussion across media platforms. For Meghan Markle, the hearing became more than just a legal step in an ongoing case. It became a symbol of how quickly control over a public narrative can slip away. Observers noted that the courtroom atmosphere felt calm at first, almost ordinary. Lawyers reviewed documents, officials followed procedure, and nothing seemed unusual. But as the session began, the tone shifted. The judge moved directly into the key issues without hesitation, asking pointed questions that challenged the core of the legal arguments being presented. Legal experts later said that the judge's approach was firm but professional, focused not on emotion but on clarity and structure. As the questioning continued, it became clear that several arguments were not landing as expected. Instead of flowing smoothly, explanations appeared strained, and responses seemed rushed. To some in the room, this suggested that the legal strategy may not have been fully prepared for this level of scrutiny. Journalists present noted a visible change in energy. Pens paused mid-note, heads lifted, and attention sharpened. What had started as a standard hearing now felt important. Critics later described the moment as damaging, while supporters argued it was simply a tough day in court that was being exaggerated. What made the moment stand out was not shouting or drama, but the calm, steady way the judge dismantled certain claims, pointing out gaps and weaknesses in a manner that was hard to dismiss. For viewers unfamiliar with legal language, the meaning was still clear. The arguments were struggling. The confidence that often surrounds high-profile legal teams appeared shaken. This did not mean the case was over, but it did signal trouble. Some legal commentators said this type of hearing can shape future decisions, even if no ruling is made that day. Others cautioned against drawing quick conclusions, reminding audiences that legal battles are long and complex. Still, the perception had changed. Once the hearing ended, discussion moved beyond the courtroom. Headlines framed the moment as a setback, and social media quickly amplified that framing. Whether fair or not, the hearing became a defining moment in public conversation. It raised questions about preparation, strategy, and whether reputation alone can carry a case forward. For Meghan, who has long been seen as someone who carefully manages her image, this moment felt different. It suggested that even the most carefully planned narratives can be challenged when placed under formal scrutiny. The hearing did not end her legal fight, but it altered how that fight was being seen. And in public life, perception often matters as much as outcome. As news of the hearing spread, attention turned to the legal team representing Meghan and how they handled the pressure. For years, the team had been portrayed as elite, experienced, and highly capable. They were often described in media as among the best available, suggesting strength, preparation, and control. That image played an important role in shaping public confidence. However, during this hearing, that image appeared to weaken. Observers described moments of hesitation, confusion, and even open acknowledgement of small errors. In legal settings, admitting mistakes is not unheard of. But when it happens in a high-profile case, it attracts attention. Some analysts viewed this as honesty under pressure, while others saw it as a sign of deeper problems. One moment that gained significant attention was a sharp remark from opposing counsel who criticized the defense strategy using a metaphor that quickly spread online. The phrase was simple and memorable, and it resonated with audiences who may not fully understand legal arguments, but easily grasp symbolism. Once that line entered public conversation, it took on a life of its own. The legal debate was no longer limited to court filings. It had become a story that people could repeat, remix, and reinterpret. At the same time, Meghan herself was not present at the hearing, which added another layer to the narrative. Supporters argued that her absence was normal and strategic, while critics viewed it as symbolic. In public life, absence is often interpreted as meaning something, even when it does not. This absence allowed others to shape the story without her direct presence. As commentary increased, attention shifted to Meghan's broader public story. Over the years, she has shared personal experiences that shaped how people see her, including stories about her upbringing and sense of independence. These stories helped build an image of resilience and self-reliance. However, critics have long questioned parts of that narrative, especially when accounts from family members and past records appear to conflict with her descriptions. These disagreements, once limited to gossip columns, now felt more relevant to some observers. They argued that credibility in one area can affect trust in another. Supporters strongly rejected this idea, stating that personal history and legal matters should not be mixed. Still, public discussion does not always follow strict logic. Once doubt enters a narrative, it often spreads. Media commentators revisited old interviews, past statements, and previous controversies, linking them to the current moment. This created a sense that the court hearing was not isolated, but part of a larger pattern. Whether that pattern truly exists is debated, but perception again played a major role. The legal team's struggle, combined with unresolved questions about past narratives, created a perfect environment for speculation. Some experts warned that this type of public reaction can influence how cases are remembered, even if it does not affect legal outcomes. In the end, the hearing became a mirror reflecting long-standing divisions in how people view Meghan. To some, it was proof of overconfidence meeting reality. To others, it was an unfair pile-on driven by bias and media hunger. The truth likely sits somewhere in between, shaped by law, perception, and the unpredictable nature of public attention. Once the story reached social media, its scale changed completely. What had been a serious legal moment was quickly transformed into online content. Short clips, commentary videos, memes, and reaction posts flooded platforms within hours. A single phrase from the courtroom became a trending reference, repeated across different formats and audiences. Some content creators used humor, others used criticism, and some attempted serious analysis. Together, they formed a wave that was impossible to control. This online reaction demonstrated how quickly complex issues can be simplified and reshaped. Legal nuance was often lost, replaced by strong opinions and emotional responses. For Meghan and her team, this presented a new challenge. The conversation was no longer happening on their terms. Silence, which can sometimes be a strategic choice, allowed speculation to grow. Without an official response, people filled gaps with their own interpretations. Reports emerged suggesting that behind the scenes, advisors were working urgently to assess damage and plan next steps. In industries like entertainment and publishing, reputation matters deeply. Executives and partners pay close attention to moments like this, not because of the legal details, but because of public reaction. When controversy grows, risk calculations change. Some observers suggested that this hearing could influence future opportunities, while others argued that controversy often increases visibility and keeps public figures relevant. Both views have precedent. History shows that some careers suffer from credibility loss, while others adapt and even grow stronger through adversity. The key factor is response. How a public figure addresses difficult moments often matters more than the moment itself. For Meghan, this situation raised important questions about narrative control. For years, she has been skilled at shaping how her story is told. This moment challenged that ability. It showed how quickly narratives can escape, and how difficult it is to regain control once public opinion fragments. It also highlighted the power of the internet to turn serious events into entertainment, blurring lines between analysis and mockery. As the immediate reaction fades, longer-term effects remain uncertain. The legal case will continue through formal channels, guided by law rather than online opinion. However, the public memory of this moment will likely persist. It will be referenced in future discussions, articles, and debates. Whether it becomes a turning point or a footnote depends on what follows. Public trust is fragile but not fixed. It can be rebuilt through consistency, transparency, and time. This moment serves as a reminder that fame offers influence but not immunity. In structured spaces like courts, reputation carries less weight than preparation and argument. Outside those spaces, reputation shapes everything. The challenge lies in navigating both worlds at once. As viewers and commentators continue to discuss this case, it is worth remembering that complex situations rarely fit simple stories. Legal battles involve process, patience, and outcomes that cannot be predicted by a single hearing. Public narratives, however, move fast and demand instant conclusions. The tension between these two realities defines modern public life. And for Meghan Markle, this hearing stands as a clear example of how quickly that tension can surface, reshape perception, and leave lasting questions in its wake. As the days passed after the hearing, attention slowly shifted from the immediate drama toward the broader impact this situation could have on Meghan Markle's future projects and public standing. In Hollywood and media circles, reputation plays a powerful role, and decisions are often guided by public mood as much as by talent or past success. Industry insiders began discussing whether this controversy might affect ongoing or future partnerships. Streaming platforms, publishers, and production companies are known to carefully monitor public sentiment because investing in public figures carries both opportunity and risk. Some analysts suggested that companies may temporarily slow decisions while waiting to see whether the controversy fades or grows. Others argued that public figures often survive moments like this, especially when they remain active and adapt their messaging. In many cases, controversy can even increase curiosity, bringing new viewers and readers who want to understand the situation for themselves. Meghan's supporters pointed out that she has faced criticism before and still managed to build successful projects, including documentaries, podcasts, and charitable initiatives. They argued that one difficult legal moment does not erase years of work. However, critics saw the hearing as another example of public relations challenges surrounding her and Prince Harry since stepping back from royal duties. They argued that repeated controversies slowly wear down public trust. At the same time, public opinion itself remains divided. Some people see Meghan as someone unfairly targeted by intense media attention, while others believe she has contributed to the conflicts surrounding her. This division means that reactions to any event involving her tend to split along existing opinions. What makes this moment especially interesting is how it shows the changing nature of celebrity influence in the digital age. In the past, public figures relied heavily on traditional media interviews and carefully controlled press appearances. Today, social media allows audiences to react instantly and shape narratives themselves. Commentary spreads quickly, often without context, and jokes or criticism can overshadow detailed explanations. During the days following the hearing, online debates continued across platforms, with some users defending Meghan's position while others mocked the situation. Videos analyzing courtroom events gained large audiences, even though many viewers never watched official footage or read legal documents. This highlights how modern attention often focuses more on interpretation than on raw facts. Meanwhile, advisors and public relations experts are believed to have been working quietly behind the scenes, deciding how best to move forward. Crisis management strategies often involve waiting for public conversation to cool before introducing new stories or projects that shift focus. Observers noticed that Meghan and Harry continued with planned appearances and charitable efforts, suggesting an attempt to maintain normal public activity. Some experts say this approach can help reduce long-term damage by showing stability rather than panic. Others argue that direct communication addressing concerns head-on sometimes works better. Whatever strategy is chosen, the challenge remains the same. Regaining narrative control once it has slipped away is never easy. The hearing, in this sense, served as a reminder that public image can change quickly, and maintaining credibility requires constant effort. For Meghan, whose public journey has included both admiration and criticism, the coming months may determine whether this moment becomes a lasting stain or simply another chapter in a long and complicated public life. Ultimately, public memory is unpredictable. Stories that seem overwhelming today can fade tomorrow, replaced by new headlines and controversies involving different figures. Yet the lessons learned often remain, shaping how future decisions are made both by celebrities and by the companies and audiences that support them. As discussions continue, many observers are watching closely to see whether Meghan's team will shift strategy, clarify positions, or simply move forward with new projects, hoping attention naturally moves elsewhere. Looking ahead, the larger question surrounding this situation is not only about legal outcomes or public reaction, but about how public figures navigate moments when perception and reality collide. Meghan Markle's story has always been complex, shaped by her background in acting, her entry into royal life, and her eventual decision to step away from royal duties alongside Prince Harry. Each phase brought new supporters as well as critics, creating a public image that constantly evolves. The recent courtroom moment fits into this broader journey, reminding audiences that fame often comes with intense scrutiny. Every move is analyzed, every statement examined, and every silence interpreted. For Meghan and Harry, balancing personal privacy with public influence has always been difficult. Their efforts to build independent careers while remaining globally recognized figures mean they cannot easily escape public debate. Experts in media behavior note that audiences today expect transparency from celebrities, yet also consume controversy as entertainment, creating a difficult environment for anyone trying to maintain dignity while defending personal decisions. As time passes, attention will likely turn toward how Meghan responds through action rather than words. New projects, charitable work, or creative ventures could help reshape public conversation. Some analysts predict that focusing on humanitarian efforts or storytelling projects that highlight positive themes may help rebuild goodwill. Others believe that avoiding public conflicts altogether may be the best path forward. At the same time, critics will likely continue questioning aspects of her public narrative, especially when past controversies resurface during moments of renewed attention. This pattern is common for high-profile individuals, where unresolved debates return again and again whenever new events occur. The courtroom incident also reminds viewers that legal processes operate slowly and carefully, unlike online reactions that demand instant conclusions. Final outcomes in such cases often take months or even years, and early impressions do not always match final decisions. Public discussion, however, rarely waits for complete information. Instead, opinions form quickly and become difficult to change. For viewers watching from outside the situation, this moment offers a chance to reflect on how easily public narratives can be shaped by selective information, dramatic headlines, or emotional reactions. Celebrity stories often become simplified into heroes and villains, even though reality tends to be far more complicated. Meghan's supporters emphasize her efforts to speak openly about mental health and personal struggles, while critics focus on conflicts and inconsistencies. Both perspectives coexist, creating an ongoing debate that may never fully settle. In the end, this courtroom episode may serve as a lesson not only for Meghan, but for anyone living in the public eye. Reputation depends not only on success, but also on how setbacks are handled. Recovery often comes through consistency, patience, and willingness to learn from difficult experiences. Whether this moment ultimately harms or strengthens Meghan's public standing will depend on what happens next, both legally and professionally. For audiences, the conversation continues, shaped by personal views, media coverage, and the ever-changing landscape of online discussion. One thing remains certain: public attention rarely stays fixed for long, and tomorrow's headlines will soon replace today's controversy. As Meghan and her team move forward, observers around the world will continue watching, debating, and forming opinions about what this episode means for her future. And as with many public figures, the final judgment will not come from a single event, but from the long story that unfolds over time, shaped by choices, challenges, and the unpredictable nature of life under constant public scrutiny. Beyond immediate reactions and media coverage, one of the most important aspects of this situation is how it highlights the relationship between public perception and personal branding. For Meghan Markle, her public image has been carefully shaped over years through interviews, documentaries, and strategic appearances, emphasizing independence, resilience, and influence. However, moments like the courtroom hearing show that even a well-managed public persona can face challenges that are difficult to control. When legal events, criticisms, or controversies enter the public eye, the narrative can quickly move beyond the control of advisors and press teams. Social media, in particular, accelerates the spread of information, often compressing complex situations into soundbites, images, or memes that reach millions in hours. These simplified interpretations can amplify missteps, whether real or perceived, and create pressure that affects decision-making, future strategies, and public reputation. Analysts have noted that public figures who rely heavily on a polished image are particularly vulnerable when reality does not perfectly match perception. In Meghan's case, observers saw her legal team's struggles as a moment where careful planning collided with the unpredictability of live court proceedings and public reaction. This creates a ripple effect. Not only does the immediate event gain attention, but audiences begin to re-examine past actions, statements, and decisions in a new light. As critics and supporters alike revisit her history, questions emerge about consistency, credibility, and decision-making, which in turn shapes public opinion and even affects business opportunities. At the same time, this incident is a reminder that setbacks in public life are not necessarily permanent. Many celebrities, public figures, and leaders have experienced highly public challenges that initially seemed damaging, but ultimately became part of a larger story of growth, adaptation, or resilience. Recovery often depends on how the individual responds, through transparency, thoughtful communication, or strategic initiatives that demonstrate competence and integrity. For Meghan, this could mean reinforcing her focus on charitable work, creative projects, or interviews that clarify her perspective while avoiding unnecessary escalation. Observers also note that managing perception is an ongoing effort, especially in a digital age where content can spread faster than any official statement. Online discussions, commentary channels, and social media reactions are often difficult to anticipate or control, meaning that even careful planning cannot prevent public debate entirely. The courtroom moment, therefore, is significant not only for legal reasons, but also as a case study in the dynamics of modern fame. It illustrates how quickly public attention can shift, how perception can influence opportunities, and how high-profile figures must constantly navigate scrutiny in multiple arenas simultaneously. Finally, this episode demonstrates that public narratives are rarely simple. While critics may highlight perceived missteps, supporters focus on resilience and context. The truth often lies somewhere in between, emphasizing that a single moment, even one as widely discussed as this hearing, is only part of a much larger story. For Meghan Markle, the challenge now is to continue moving forward, balancing personal goals, public attention, and professional initiatives, while learning from experiences that cannot easily be undone. For the audience, it serves as a reminder that celebrity stories are shaped not only by what happens, but by how people perceive and interpret each event in the broader arc of a person's life.